I'm Mark Broom. Let's dive straight into the day's headlines. Back home and directly into quarantine for a fortnight. Several South Korean nationals are back in Seoul after evacuating the coronavirus-hit Diamond Princess cruise ship moored off a port in Japan. Wuhan-bound, the WHO isn't ruling out sending its team of international experts currently in China to the city that's the epicenter of the COVID-19 outbreak. Plus, Samsung Electronics will put its advanced chip-making tech to the test as it wins a 5-nanometer modem chip contract from American tech giant Qualcomm. So we start with the big news out within the past hour or so, and new information flowing in all the time that the number of confirmed COVID-19 cases in South Korea has jumped sharply this morning. Health authorities are saying 15 patients have been confirmed with the virus across South Korea, many of them in the southeastern city of Daegu and its surrounding Gyeongsangbuk-do Province. Gyeongbuk National University Hospital in Daegu, where one of the patients had been hospitalized in a pressure ward, said it had closed the hospital late Tuesday night. Another male in Seoul with no recent history of overseas travel has also tested positive with the virus. With the latest addition, we are looking at potentially 46 confirmed cases in South Korea now. Bear in mind that a number of those have gone on to make full recoveries, though we'll bring you the latest details as we get them. A South Korean presidential jet has brought back 7 passengers and crew members from the coronavirus-hit cruise ship that's been moored at Japan's Yokohama port. For weeks now, the evacuees, 6 South Koreans and a Japanese national who's married to one of the Koreans, landed at Seoul's Gimpo Int'l Airport at around 6:30 a.m. Korea time. None of them are showing symptoms of the coronavirus. They'll now be isolated for 2 weeks at a government quarantine facility in Incheon International Airport. There were 14 South Koreans on the Diamond Princess cruise ship, but only 6 wanted to come back. And China has reported another 132 deaths from the coronavirus. The death toll in China is now 2,006, according to Chinese health officials. Hubei Province, the epicenter of the virus, reported about 1,700 new cases in the region, hiking the total number of confirmed patients to over 74,000. The majority of the deaths and additional cases were recorded in Hubei Province, while some 1,200 Hubei residents were discharged from hospital after fully recovering. 2,000 remain in critical condition. The World Health Organization says its team of international experts in China could visit the city of Wuhan, where the COVID-19 outbreak actually began. The head of the WHO added that the team was in the region just last month, and their next possible visit could be very productive. Lee Seung-jae with the details.
A group of experts from the WHO is currently in Beijing and plans to also visit South China's Guangdong Province and Southwest China's Sichuan Province in order to study the country's prevention and control work on COVID-19. Local media reports indicate that despite those visits, there are no plans to visit the COVID-19 epicenter of Wuhan in Hubei Province. However, the WHO's Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus shot down the report, saying the experts could be sent to Wuhan, adding that all options are on the table. According to the WHO chief, the experts visited the city last month, and he says another visit could be helpful in trying to contain the outbreak. Meanwhile, the head of the WHO also answered questions about the severity of local transmissions outside of China, saying there's not enough data at the moment.
At the moment, we don't have enough data on cases outside China to make a meaningful comparison on the severity of disease or the case fatality rate. We're following up with countries to get more information about what happens about each case and the outcome. However, we have not yet seen the sustained local transmission except in specific circumstances like the Diamond Princess cruise ship.
Despite no huge slowdown in the spread of the COVID-19 outbreak, the WHO's top emergencies expert, Michael Ryan, says China has had success with putting out the fire first in Hubei, as he argued for despite what many believe to be China's heavy-handed response. 이 승재, Arirang News.
The WHO will meet with a North Korean delegation in Geneva on Wednesday to discuss issues related to COVID-19. According to Michael Ryan, the head of the WHO Emergencies Programme, there's no need to believe there's a specific problem in North Korea regarding the virus, but added his agency's priority is to provide protective equipment to that country. Despite North Korea reporting no cases of COVID-19, the North's poor medical infrastructure could cause an outbreak to be particularly catastrophic there. President Moon Jae-in will sit down this morning with the education superintendents of South Korea's 17 provinces and cities to discuss quarantine measures against the COVID-19 outbreak. President Moon is expected to call for strengthened efforts to ensure student safety with the spring semester due to start in the coming weeks. Some schools have decided to postpone classes amid concerns over the virus. And President Moon is calling for extraordinary economic steps to minimize the fallout of the coronavirus on the local economy, even hinting at a possible extra spending, extra budget to support the nation's fragile recovery at this difficult time. Kim Min-ji with the details.
President Moon Jae-in has called for all possible means to breathe life into the economy withering due to the COVID-19 outbreak. Speaking in a cabinet meeting on Tuesday, President Moon said it's an economic emergency, noting that the fallout could be greater than previous epidemics like SARS and MERS.
코로나19가 주고 있는 경제적 타격에 그야말로 비상경제 시국이라는 상황 인식을 가지고 엄중하게 대처해야 합니다. 비상한 상황에는 비상한 처방이 필요합니다. 현재 상황은 생각보다 매우 심각합니다.
President Moon said the cabinet's approval of emergency funds worth some $80 million is just a start. Adding the budget implementation alone is not enough. He called for support packages to minimize the fallout on local companies that depend on China for export to production, as well as financial support or tax incentives for small businesses. Moon also called for aggressive regulatory reforms to encourage companies to invest. The president also stressed the need for continued efforts to diversify South Korea's export partners and develop homegrown materials and parts to minimize its dependence on other countries.
전례가 있다, 없다를 따지지 말고 생각할 수 있는 대책들을 책상 위에 모두 꺼내놓고 가능한 모든 수단을 동원해야 할 것입니다. 정책은 타이밍이 생명입니다. 어떤 제한도 두지 말고 예상을 뛰어넘는 정책적 상상력을 발휘해 주기 바랍니다.
Moon reiterated his call for people to carry on with their daily lives as usual, as the government is making all-out efforts to contain the virus, adding that excessive concern will only weigh on the economy further. The Blue House says the president's remarks reflect the urgency of the situation and the need to maintain public safety. It adds the first set of economic measures will be ready by the end of this month. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
Now, as demand for protective face masks has soared nationwide amid the coronavirus outbreak, the South Korean government and local SMEs are going all out to meet the demand and give the public that extra peace of mind as they go about their daily lives. Our Kim Da-mi has this report.
The spread of the coronavirus has made face masks a must-have item, not just in China, but also here in Korea. Since the start of the coronavirus outbreak, Koreans have spent an average of over $100 on preventive measures like masks and hand sanitizers. The demand for those products has skyrocketed, and it can be hard to get your hands on them.
I was able to buy face masks for around $3, but now the price has doubled. And it's hard to find the masks I want at pharmacies or online because they are already out of stock.
While the face mask shortage spreads across the country, some local SMEs are not only pumping out masks for people in Korea, but also offering them at half price. One CU says he was even offered $2 million for 1 million face masks.
It's unbelievable that people have to buy masks at unreasonable prices. Offering discounts at a time like this is the least that SMEs like us can do. We hope this stabilizes supplies and prices, encouraging other companies to do the same.
To further help solve the mask shortage, starting Wednesday, the Ministry of SMEs and Startups will release 1 million face masks at around $1 each through its TV home shopping channel. To prevent the hoarding of those products, they'll be limited to 1 pack of 40 masks per customer. The government is also helping local companies operating in China resume their economic activities.
The Korean government provided emergency kits, including masks, to Korean SMEs based in China so that they could safely resume operations as their production is linked to manufacturing finished products in Korea.
The South Korean government has also approved tougher penalties against people who hoard protective masks and hand sanitizers. Hoarders of those products can get up to 2 years in prison or a fine of around $42,000. In addition, all manufacturers and wholesalers of those products must make daily reports to the government on their sales made both at home and abroad. 김다미, Arirang News.
Now, in other news, the world's first geostationary environment monitoring satellite, South Korea's Chollian 2B, has successfully separated from its rocket and communicated with us down here on Earth, according to the Korea Aerospace Research Institute on Wednesday. The rocket carrying the satellite was launched from French Guiana at 7:18 p.m. local time. The satellite successfully separated from the rocket around half an hour after liftoff and made first contact with a tracking station in Australia. From October, the new satellite will monitor the movement of fine dust and other pollutants, as well as tides in East Asia. South Korean chipmaker Samsung Electronics will be producing new Qualcomm 5G chips, utilizing its most advanced chip-making technology. The new deal is expected to boost Samsung's market share against one of its biggest regional rivals. Kim Hyo-sun has this report.
Samsung Electronics has won a contract to manufacture new 5G chips for Qualcomm. Citing multiple sources, Reuters reports that the South Korean tech giant will make some of Qualcomm's X60 modem chips that connect smartphones to 5G wireless data networks. The X60 will be fabricated using Samsung's new 5nm process, which can make chips smaller and more power efficient than previous generations. Samsung Electronics is not only well known for its phones and other electronic devices, but it's also one of the world's leading chip makers through its foundry division. It manufactures many of its own mobile phone parts as well as chips for other companies, including IBM and Nvidia. Reuters explains that Samsung's new contract is aimed at increasing its market share against its rival, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, whose market share for the fourth quarter of 2019 was over 52% compared to Samsung's 17.8%. The report also pointed out that the contract could boost Samsung's foundry business, as the X60 modem is likely to be used in a wide range of mobile devices as they shift to 5G. Qualcomm explained that samples of the X60 chips will be sent out to customers during the first quarter, although it did not specify whether the first batches of chips would be made by Samsung or Taiwan's TSMC. Kim Hyo-sun, Arirang News.
A new report shows over 1.4 million new jobs will be created if South Korea completely converts to renewable energy by the year 2050. This is according to joint research carried out by Stanford University and UC Berkeley that was disclosed on Wednesday by Greenpeace. It explained new jobs will be created in energy management sector as well as from the construction of renewable energy facilities. It added the number of premature deaths caused by air pollution will also drop significantly, lowering the health costs associated with dirty air. The defense chiefs of South Korea and the US are going to be meeting in Washington next Monday, US time. The focal point of their talks is expected to be the ongoing defense sharing cost negotiations for the stationing of American troops here in South Korea. Kim Ji-yeon reports.
Defense Minister Chung Kyung-do will be paying an official visit to the U.S. next week for a bilateral meeting with his U.S. counterpart, Mark Esper. It'll be Chung's first visit to the U.S. since Esper was appointed last July. On the agenda will be the previous defense cost-sharing negotiations, South Korea-U.S. combined military exercises, as well as the transfer of wartime operational control from Washington to Seoul. During his 6-day visit, Chung will also attend events commemorating Korean War veterans in the lead-up to its 70th anniversary. The two countries have previously failed to reach a compromise on defense cost-sharing issues, despite 6 rounds of talks that took place since last September, as the U.S. is believed to have asked Seoul for a significant increase from last year's $870 million. On whether the two sides can come to a deal during the next round of talks on the Special Measures Agreement, Foreign Minister Kang Kyung-hwa, in a meeting held at the National Assembly, said it's too early to say whether the negotiations are in their final stages. She also said it will become clear whether a settlement can be achieved depending on the outcome of the upcoming talks, taking a more cautious approach from the previous stance of needing to come to an agreement by this month. On Kang's meeting in Munich last Saturday with Mike Pompeo, her U.S. counterpart, she said they shared an understanding of the need for the two countries' delegations to meet again in order to reach a deal. The U.S. is believed to ask for Seoul's contribution in covering costs for troops assigned to U.S. Forces Korea on a rotational basis of 9 months, as well as offshore costs for the training of U.S. troops not limited to those on the Korean Peninsula, which were not included in last year's SME settlement. Kim Ji-yeon, Arirang News.
Now, following the ruling party floor leader's speech at the National Assembly on Tuesday, it is the turn of the newly merged United Future Party today. Just a couple of minutes ago, the floor leader of the new main opposition party, Shim Jae-chol, began his speech at the podium. He started by once again explaining why centrist and conservative lawmakers have joined hands and launched the new party, and he touched upon how the party plans to bring about change and perform well in the April 15th general elections. He is expected to follow that up by criticising the incumbent Moon Jae-in administration, especially regarding its economic and diplomatic policies. He's also likely to stress the need to scrap the government's income-led growth policy, as well as the ongoing plan to create a new, powerful investigative organisation to oversee the prosecution's probes into high-ranking government officials. The cast and crew of the multiple Oscar-winning movie Parasite are going to be holding a press conference in Seoul very shortly. Director Bong Joon-ho and the main cast members will talk about their experiences during the making of the film, as well as that truly historic night in LA. Parasite became the first non-English language film to win Best Picture at the 92nd Academy Awards on February 9th. Bong's black comedy also won Best Director, Best Original Screenplay and International Feature Film. The press conference itself is going to begin at Seoul's Westin Joseon Hotel at 11 a.m. Korea time. A staggering number of locusts are causing absolute chaos in East Africa. Some experts are raising the possibility that the gigantic swarms could make their way to China if the region fails to get a handle on the outbreak of these pests. For more on this and other news from around the world, let's turn to our Yoon Jung-min. Jung-min, tell us more.
Sure, Mark. East Africa has been suffering from hundreds of thousands of desert locusts for months. The overwhelming number of insects are wreaking havoc on crops and pasture there. Experts in China say it's less likely the swarms move all the way to China now, but have raised the possibility that the country could be hit by a wave of the insects if the outbreak isn't brought under control by the summer. The swarms have already spread to South Sudan. Sudan is already facing hunger, and the UN Food Agency has warned of a more acute food crisis in East Africa because of the swarm. Kenya, Somalia, and Ethiopia are reporting their worst infestations in decades. Experts say spraying pesticides from sky is the most effective way to combat the swarms, but unfortunately, countries in the region don't have the right resources. The UN body says the locusts are breeding so fast that the numbers could grow 500-fold by June. It estimates there are about 360 billion locusts in the region and is calling on the international community for help. Former New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg will officially join the 2020 U.S. presidential election race this week with his first appearance at a presidential debate. Bloomberg has qualified for Wednesday's Democratic presidential debate in Las Vegas ahead of this weekend's Nevada caucuses. A recent poll by NPR, PBS NewsHour, and Marist shows Bloomberg is in second with 19% support. Senator Bernie Sanders has a strong lead with 31%. Bloomberg has been preparing for Super Tuesday. Other Democratic candidates are gearing up to slam him, including attacks on his earlier stop-and-frisk remarks, calling him racist. The Boy Scouts of America has filed for bankruptcy amid child sexual abuse scandal. USA Today estimates its liabilities up between $500 million to $1 billion. The organization's estimated assets are between $1 billion to $10 billion. The filing comes as the organization facing hundreds of sexual abuse lawsuits and decreasing membership numbers. Last April, court testimony has revealed that more than 7,800 of its former leaders were involved in sexually abusing more than 12,000 children over more than 70 years. Since the bankruptcy filing, all lawsuits brought against it are now suspended.
Good morning. A freezing start will give way to mild daily highs, so we can expect much more bearable temperatures by the afternoon. But that's going to lead to wide temperature differences in most regions for over 10 degrees Celsius, so dress accordingly. So temperatures will recover nicely, and we could see readings topping above the season norms in most parts by the afternoon. Seoul will get up to 8 degrees Celsius, and that's about 7 degrees higher than yesterday, while Daegu, Gwangju, and Jeju will get up to 11 degrees this afternoon. And we'll also enjoy plenty of sunshine with decent air. Most regions will have normal to good air quality, but it's forecast to be a bit dustier on Thursday. Temperatures will bounce up and down, so wear layers to ensure you don't catch a cold. Also, there is nationwide rain in the forecast from Friday afternoon, which could linger into Saturday. That's Korea for you, and here's the international weather for viewers around the world.
Well, that's all we have for now. Stay tuned to Arirang TV. Our next newscast is at noon Korea time, so until then, goodbye.
The novel coronaviruses are spreading all over the world. To prevent the virus from spreading further, it's essential to attend to personal hygiene and take preventive measures. Rule number 1 for preventing the infection. Wash your hands thoroughly in running water with soap for at least 30 seconds.